Hello guys, it's Rick here with Dog Design Everything Tech. We are in wonderfully gorgeous South Carolina right now. We're not in Texas. We're out here visiting friends and family, my daughter's 18th birthday, all that kind of fun stuff. And I got some new gear. I want to tell you about it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we're doing here. It is purely a family vacation. I didn't plan on doing a bunch of video work. And then I get down here and pick up some client work. Go figure, it happens. Which meant I had to learn how to use a camera I'm not familiar with, and I had to buy some mics like in a hurry. Now I've got all my gear back in Texas. My GH5 Mark II is what I normally use for this. I had recently gotten into Olympus cameras, and so what I'm filming on right now is the Olympus. It's the E-M1 Mark III, and I got it because I wanted it to be mostly for photography, and I'm learning how to use the camera. Been a bit of a learning curve. Coming from Panasonic to Olympus has been a challenge. In the midst of that, I also wanted to get something that would be fun and just pure for hobby, not professional work, just hobby work. So I got this guy. This is the E-M5 Mark I. This is the original OG one, 16 megapixel. The camera I'm using now is 20 megapixel. And I got a bunch of gear with this too. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna talk to you about my experience, tell you a little bit about what's going on with the channel, and kind of just learn myself. I want to use this as a process to learn the gear that I've invested in as a hobby. I brought the Olympus here and left all my other stuff home because I wanted to force myself to learn how to use the camera. I've had some opportunities to take some shots of chickens and birds and squirrels and stuff, and leaving what I'm most familiar with at home and forcing myself to have to use something that I'm not familiar with is a bit of a challenge. And it's something that it's the best way I know how to learn is just force myself to do it. The one thing I didn't bring were my mics because I wasn't expecting to do video work. So what I got, I didn't want to spend another $400 or $300 and some change, whatever, for another set of DJI Mic 2s, which probably need to do at some point. But Newer is a company that I've used their stuff many, many times. And it's usually can be pretty good. Now the build quality is sus for sure. This is very, very plastic, extraordinarily plastic. I'll have some B-roll shots of this. But the little transmitters are these little guys, and you can like super feature rich, but also I think very cheaply made. So very plasticky. It does have a mic jack if you want to run a lapel. I didn't bring any with me, so I'm just running this with a little fuzzy on it. You have mute, turn on and off. It does have automatic noise canceling, which is really cool. And it also records on device. So you have 8 gigs on the unit, which gives you a ton of recording possibilities, and it records 48 and I think it's 24. So we have a bit of headroom here. So it's better than 48/16, right? Not as good as like, what do they call it, 32-bit float. It's not that good, but it has a lot of range with the 48 and 24-bit. So hopefully these work. We're gonna find out. I've got this professional job to do, and we'll be using these mics on the job. Hopefully they work out okay. So let's talk a bit about the gear we have here on the table. This stuff here is what I brought with my Olympus. This is, right, first of all, what am I shooting on? I've got an 8-25 with an ND filter. Hopefully the light changing I'm looking now, I'm a tiny bit underexposed. I should have adjusted for that because the sun's gone. When the sun was out, I was overexposed. So the fun of shooting outdoors, right? But I have an ND filter on that. All of the lenses I have, except for the 50 or 25, 50 equivalent, use 72 mil filters. So I have one variable ND that I can move onto this, or I can move onto this, or I can move onto what we're using. That's an 8-25 f4 Pro. This is a 12-200. I used this at the shoot the other day at the high school, and going from 12 to 200 on this was really, really nice. It's a relatively slow lens though, so it's a variable aperture. It's 3.5 to 6.3. So when I'm all the way out and trying to shoot indoors, did give me a bit of a challenge. I was having to push my ISO way high. I will say that the results I got were pretty decent. Because there's a bunch of people that I don't have necessarily permission to use. You're not gonna see those pictures, but I will just tell you that even running 3000 or 6400 ISO, the results that I needed to get for what I was doing it for worked out okay. Not ideal, but okay. It was not nearly as noisy as I thought it was going to be. The other lens I have here, this monster, this is a 100 to 400, and this is what I use for if I'm gonna go to like the zoo or if I'm gonna try and take wildlife photos. This guy right here is awesome. Same filter, so if I wanna run an ND, I can. But I'm probably, if I'm using this, I'm probably shooting wildlife, and I'm gonna try and have my shutter speed pretty high. So this has a variable aperture of 5 to 6.3. Again, pretty slow, especially because on a Micro Four Thirds, double that, and that's what you're really shooting compared to full frame. So really gorgeous lens, fun to use, but you wanna have bright sunlight. So that's the professional gear. This is an interesting little guy, and the reason I got this camera is I'm trying to get away from chasing the latest and greatest. I have a real problem with gear acquisition syndrome. If there's something new out that's supposed to give me some capability that I think I need, then I'm like full on, how do I get that product? And I about put myself in the debtor's prison trying to chase that goal. It's why I got out of the PCs. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about that in another video, but if you notice, I was doing PCs, now I'm talking about camera gear, because really I want this channel to be about all tech and just getting the most out of what you have or the most out of what you can afford. So this little guy is like the Olympus, like I said, EM5 Mark I. It doesn't have the fully articulating screen, it's just got a flippy screen here at the back. So I can take low shots, I can take high shots, lets me do all of that stuff. But it doesn't flip out. It's not meant for this type of work, which is fine. I got this for taking pictures, not video, right? So I picked this up for a whopping $234 at B&H Photo. I had to buy a lens, so I bought the kit lens, and I found this lens was on sale. It's like $200 off, or 100 and some change. I paid $95 for the lens, brand new. So I have this was extra, I wanted a sunshade. So I have this kit right here I got for less than 400 bucks, so like 350-ish, let's say, plus or minus. Now I did buy some other lenses, and the beautiful thing about being invested in the Micro Four Thirds is whatever I buy for my professional work, my GH5s or this Olympus, like this big old monster here, will actually go on this. Looks kind of silly, but it does actually work, so that's kind of cool. The other lenses I got were all mostly kit stuff. I wanted something lightweight. Actually, these lenses are so light and portable, you can almost throw that in your pocket and have it with you. This is the 40 to 150, I believe. I get it confused with the Panasonic. Yeah, it's 40 to 150, Panasonic's 45 to 150. So this is 40 to 150, so I have this to go on this camera for if I'm walking around the yard, I want to take pictures of squirrels or something. They give me a little zoom. This one here is the standard 14 to 42. So this is your, basically take that and double it for 35mm equivalent, so that would be 28 to 84. So pretty good zoom range for like normal street photography, walking around, take pictures of family, that kind of stuff. Pretty neat stuff. The other lenses I have get a little more specialized. And I've had this lens here. This is a portrait lens. And this takes really good pictures. It doesn't look like much, does it? But it takes really, really nice portrait. Good background separation, even though it's Micro Four Thirds. But it's 45mm, double that to 90, so it's 90 to 90mm 1.8, so that would be 3.6, right? So anyway, really good background separation with this little guy. And then if I need to get up close and personal and really wide, then I have this. Now this I bought, all of this stuff, this I acquired years ago through a trade. This I bought used off of eBay. This I also got used off of eBay. Now this is a 9 to 18, so that's 18 to 36, right? So really nice, compact, lightweight lens. And I use this if I need to go really wide. Now I've got the 8 to 25 on that because that's my pro lens, which would also work with this. But if I'm just, it's another lens I could throw in my pocket. Now I can go down and take skyscraper shots or whatever I want to do. I can go down to any city and get some good street photography with something this versatile that gets it this wide. It's pretty cool. And it all stays on a nice lightweight body. which is also pretty awesome. So you're gonna see a bunch of B-roll and all of this stuff, and all the B-roll that you've been seeing has all been shot with this guy, right? So I wanted you guys to get an idea of what this camera can do. Obviously, if there's a picture of this camera, that was shot with the E-M1 Mark III. But everything else with the lenses or maybe the mics or whatever, all were shot with this guy. This is the E-M5. So this camera, a couple $100 used, right? And it was like used, and it even came with a flash. It had all the accessories and all the cool stuff. So if you want to get into it and just have a neat little camera to do some nice photography, get really, really good results, this is a hell of a deal, man, for a couple $100. And lenses, we can go kind of crazy on lenses when you go to eBay and start looking at Micro Four Thirds out there. Just make sure you're buying from somebody reputable. I use Robert's Cameras or KEH or those guys on eBay. I've bought from private sellers, but I made sure they had good communication. Always make sure to communicate before I buy something, just to see if they're real and, you know, what kind of vibe I get off of them. But there's plenty of great places to get really good lenses at half or less than half retail. So definitely check that out. You'll want to make sure you're getting the right version, because there's like version 2 lenses that have some significant improvements. You want to check all that out. Do your research before just pull the trigger, because sometimes if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But definitely take a look and make sure before you buy. But there's so many great options if you want to get into just fun photography where you have to learn the gear. This has automatic functions, but I throw this thing in manual, and I set my ISO, and I set my shutter, and I set my aperture, and I get everything dialed in, and I get the exposure right, and it forces me to not be lazy and just trust the camera to do everything, but I need to flip the right switch and turn the right dial to get the results I want. And as you learn that process on something inexpensive like this, then when you go to something more expensive, all that transfers. I want to learn how to use this gear. I want to learn how to use whatever is in front of me to get the job done. Cool thing about the stuff we have at our disposal today is pretty much anything that's relatively modern can give you good results if you know how to use it. I think that's awesome. It means you don't have to buy the latest and greatest. You can back up. This is 12 years old, 12 and some change, and it still takes really, really good pictures. Haven't played with it with video at all, but really, really cool piece of kit. All right, so that's gonna be it for now. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me know down in the comments if there's something you wanna see. And if you wanna see more of my camera gear and how it works, and you want me to kind of show you how to make it work, at least how to get the results I get, let me know, because I'd be pleased to do those videos. I enjoy that kind of work. My name's Rick here with Dog River Design, Everything Tech. Thanks for watching.